I can't stop acquiring books. It's a kind of necessity. But I'm not guilty about it. Books to me are like oxygen. I'm a fish swimming in an aquarium of the intellect. The library comes into its own in winter. Summertime I like to get out, away, gone. But in winter, some people go to the Caribbean. I like January, February in London, pottering about and travelling in my mind, planning where I shall be going when the days get lighter. This started off as Reference Corner, but it took on a life of its own. It's a bit like a sort of greenhouse where plants start rioting out of control. Thomas Mann, Buddenbrook's The Decline of a Family. I haven't read that. That's waiting for me. Good. Most of my friends have read everything. I'm not in that class. And that's wonderful. I'm so glad I haven't read everything. I have such a wonderful future awaiting me. Writing is a kind of, like all the others, it's like a pyrotechnic activity. You're sending up firework displays of the imagination, illuminating the darkness. And all these authors were fabulous at that. I mean, they may not all be to my taste, and I may not agree with what they had to say, but they could all do a brilliant intellectual firework display. We have temperament, you see, and we gravitate to what not necessarily is good for us, but what we need to realize our true nature. I remember when I visited Krishnamurti and I asked him to sign one of his books. Oh no, he said, I can't. My books are so dreadful, I'm not happy with any of them. And I said, oh, please do. He said, all right, I'll initial it in the corner. So J.K. is in the corner of one of his books of spiritual philosophy. And he said, but why do you want it inscribed? And I said, well, it's just evidence for my eyes that, in fact, we did meet. It's kind of an actuality. One does need grounding in the physical world. This is why the electronic book means nothing to me, because a book is a physical object too, and writing to me is a physical act. It's a sculptural act as well as an intellectual act. The two come together. I write with a fountain pen in the first place, and then I move for the second draft onto the computer. Do you think writers are odd? I don't know. I don't subscribe to this idea that you've got to be odd to be a writer, or you certainly have to have something to say that hasn't been said before. There's no point in churning out what somebody else has said. But I don't think you've got to be odd. Perhaps you've got to be more normal than other people. I think, for me, what's odd is people who get terribly excited by buying oven chips in Tesco. That, to me, is pure eccentricity. When I bought this flat, I promised myself no books in the bedroom. I'm a terrible insomniac, and I thought having books in the bedroom and all the psychological power that they embody would not be good for a quiet night's sleep. However, the books demanded to be incorporated into my domestic world and invaded my bedroom, and there they are. And since I've been an insomniac since about the age of 2, I can't really blame it on the books, can I? But I think if the books weren't here, I'd feel much more claustrophobic than I do living in a rather small flat in central London. there's something about the lushness, the richness, the open door quality of a book. Open a book and you're opening a door. But all these books just remind me of worlds beyond worlds, and they are an expression of freedom. As we know, the first thing dictators do is control books, control what people are allowed to read. Well, you'll find all sorts here. The problem of Russia. So much that's wonderful and so much that's ghastly. And it's all there in the literature. This is a little French chair given to me by my friend Keith. When he thought I was buying a country cottage, I put in an offer, but the offer was turned down and people got more the my offer eventually. But so I've got a French chair in front of French books, and it's a very comfortable place to sit. Probably the most comfortable place in the room. The French, I think, respect literature more than the English do. Whether that's important or not, I don't know. Sometimes respect can be a very suffocating emotion. We hear a lot about it today, but respect is a byproduct of something more profound, I think. When you turn it into an objective in itself, I think it's pointless. The Greeks and the Irrational, that's a good book by Mr. Dodds. God, the Greeks were the most amazing race that ever walked the earth. They invented everything that's adult in human life. No other race did. Everything that is sane in our world comes from the ancient Greeks. So I love foreign literature because it's coming from another world. But, of course, it's a world one can only glimpse through a translator, and that alters the experience. It doesn't devalue it necessarily. Well, perhaps it does, but it doesn't make it worthless, that's what I mean. So I've got loads of books of foreign literature, just to give me whiffs of other worlds. I love that. I'm not anti-English or anything like that, because I've got loads of English stuff. But I've always wanted to wander, and I can wander very conveniently in my library, see what other people are up to in entirely different places, entirely different cultures. How are they dealing with the problem of breathing in and out before you drop dead? I don't know whether God exists. Certainly doesn't in any of the offered models, of course, but the whole point of an offered model means that it cannot possibly be God, because God is a model-free idea. But I'm not an atheist, and I'm not a believer, so I think I'm an agnostic, and I always come down to one question, or one statement anyway. One thing I do know, and that is we did not create ourselves. So there is immediately an issue there about what it is that we are a part of or are emanations from. That is something to be thought about. For me, it all disappears in mystery. And I can think of nothing worse. To me, hell on earth is to discover that you know all the answers. It's so exciting. Life is only worth living when you realize that at the end all your questions vanish into mystery. This makes being alive so exciting. Having the answers is the kiss of death. That silver thing is a lobster pot. And I've yet to boil a lobster in it, but I have cooked spaghetti for 50 people using it. But now it's already being eaten alive by my library and covered over One day I'll be able to sort of disengage it and use it for cooking once again. Where did I buy it?